3 plane crashes on December 29th. 3 in one day. And let's not forget that there was one on Christmas Day, which people believe was taken down intentionally by Russia.
Okay, you gotta ask yourself what's going on. In the past 24 hours, there's been 3 plane crashes in different parts of this world. And in all 3 of these plane crashes, there's been something wrong with the landing gear.
We have breaking news as we come on the air this morning. A plane crash in South Korea has taken the lives of 179 people. That's all but 2 of the people on board.
All right, this one right here is a little touchy. This is a little bit, off the topic, but it's current in the events, all right? And the event is current. With that being said, right now we're about to sit back and react to the 3 mysteriously strange airplane crashes that happened within 24 hours. I'm talking about 3 crashes within 24 hours. Let's not forget about the Boeing whistleblower who kept explaining. And remember, they red rummed him. He's unalived. He's no longer with us, no longer around. May he rest in peace. However, let's not forget about how he became a whistleblower, and he explained how Boeing was trying to fast track production, which means is they might have had faulty parts, missing parts, inactive parts, and they just still slapped it on and put the plane out. And for some weird reason, when he came out explaining the situation, he's no longer around. And look what's happening right now, huh? All for the power of the dollar. They don't care about your life or mine. They just care about that money coming in line. You understand? Sit back and react with your boy. Let's see how this is about to play out. TikTok is in uproar. A lot of people becoming detectives. And let's just say things aren't looking great for them right now. Sit back and react. Let's go.
We have breaking news as we come on the air this morning. A plane crash in South Korea has taken the lives of 179 people. That's all but 2 of the people on board as it made a runway crash landing. For the very latest on this tragedy, we turn to ABC News transportation correspondent Gio Benitez. Gio, what do we know about the cause of this crash?
Well, John, this is just an unspeakable tragedy, and there's a lot that we don't know right now. That's the problem. But we know that there were 181 passengers and crew on this plane, and like you said, nearly all of them lost their lives in this. You're seeing the images right there. This is really the only part of the plane that's still recognizable. It's really the tail. And this happened in South Korea because they actually had to land there. There was some sort of distress signal that was sent before the landing, and we know that local transportation officials were saying that there was a warning about a bird strike. But at this point, when you look at this, it's hard to imagine how a bird strike alone could have caused something like this, but we just don't know. And we're not going to show you the full video here because it's really, really disturbing. But basically, this plane, this Boeing 737 from Jeju Air, was actually able to land on its belly without that landing gear deployed. And so the big question is, why did it not have that landing gear deployed? Why did it not slow down when it was landing on its belly? And then why there was this wall? There was this wall at the airport near the runway. When it veered off course, the plane actually hit that wall. That's when it exploded. So there are so many questions about all of this. And the sad part about this, there's so many sad parts about this, but what's really tragic about this is if that wall hadn't been there, they likely would have been able to survive this.
And this was a Boeing 737-800. That is one of the most common airplanes in the world. I believe there are more than 4,000 of them currently in operation. That's about 15% of all commercial passenger planes in the world. What does this mean for the rest of those Boeing 737-800s around the world?
Well, John, I know that a lot of people online, when they're looking at this, they're saying, well, wait a minute, it's a Boeing plane. We saw what happened in January with that door plug on the Alaska Airlines plane. Is this somehow related to being a Boeing problem? At this point, there's no indication of that. This is a 15-year-old plane. And like you said, it is one of the most popular models in the world. So many people fly this plane. And when you look at Jeju Air, right, this is the airline, they actually have an incredibly strong safety record. They only have one incident almost 2 decades ago, and it was a plane that actually went off the runway and 6 people were injured in that, but everyone survived there. In this case, it's very, very different because when it landed, we still don't know why it wasn't able to slow down. Sometimes they have these crush pads at the end of airport runways to slow planes down. We don't know if that was there, but certainly you see how fast it it was moving, and then, of course, that wall. And so that's the biggest factor here is that wall there. But no doubt, we want to know about that distress signal. Why did that happen? Why was there a Mayday call? And so that investigation is going to take some time.
앞으로 확인되는 피해 상황이나 정확한 사고 원인 등에 대해서는 국민 여러분께 빠른 시간 내에 알려드리도록 하겠습니다.
America, you got to ask yourself what's going on. In the past 24 hours, there's been 3 plane crashes in different parts of this world. And in all 3 of these plane crashes, there's been something wrong with the landing gear, causing a failure for the plane to be able to land. A Dutch KLM flight from Norway to the Netherlands was experiencing hydraulic system failure and had to make an emergency landing with 182 people. Right before that, you had the plane that crashed in South Korea, killing 179 people. This plane was also experiencing landing issues. We all know that the video is floating around. I'm not gonna put it up here. It's very graphic. You can see in the video that the plane landed and skidded on the runway and crashed. And also, an Air Canada flight experienced a suspected landing gear issue after arriving at Halifax Stanfield International Airport in Nova Scotia on Saturday night. And on this plane, it was heavy fire and heavy smoke. Luckily, nobody was injured. Now, these 3 individual plane crashes may not have anything to do with each other, but it's definitely alarming because we fly on a regular basis. But when the information comes out, we definitely need to know what's causing these issues.
So breaking news, and this is getting weird. There have been 3 plane crashes due to landing gear issues in the last 24 hours. As you know, there was that one in South Korea that killed 179 people. There was just a landing gear issue. That plane never had a problem. And it just skidded off the runway, killing 179 of the 181 people on board. And then there was the KLM Dutch that actually had to make an emergency landing because they had some hydraulic issues that was with the landing gear as well. What's going on with that? Then there was an Air Canada that also had some landing gear issues all in the last 24 hours. There's obviously no proof that all of these are connected, but I mean, it's kind of weird that these are all happening consecutively. So we'll keep you updated. We'll see what's going on. I'm not a huge one who loves to fly because, but it's getting kind of weird.
So this is the actual whistleblower who's no longer around with us, all right? Unfortunately, he got red rum and he was speaking the truth. You know how it goes when you spill the beans. You know what I mean? Check it out.
Hey, are you following the story about the Boeing whistleblower who showed up dead this weekend? They're saying, but a lot of people are raising an eyebrow at that. His name is John Barnett. And here, listen to what he has to say.
What we're seeing with the door plug blowout is what I've seen with the rest of the airplane, as far as jobs not being completed properly, inspection steps being removed, issues being ignored. My concerns are with the 737 and the 787 because those programs have really embraced the theory that quality is overhead and non-value added. So those 2 programs have really put a strong effort into removing quality from the process.
All right, that's a video from TMZ. Now, that sounds shocking, but it didn't surprise me because I interviewed a Boeing engineer, and he would only do it if I protected his identity. But listen to what he had to say.
Can you talk to me about the environment while designing the MAX?
Cost pressure and time pressure was the biggest impact. I believe we had customers that would inform us that if they couldn't get the airplane soon enough, they would go to an Airbus solution to their market need. So immense pressure on getting the airplane to market as soon as possible.
Now, why does this matter? I was investigating 2 crashes of 737s where 346 people died. Each one of those has a family, and I want you to meet one of them. This is Baye.
In the morning, She didn't even wake me up because my son and I, we were like, you know, I almost hugged my child, and she don't want to wake us, you know, but she never come back.
It's heartbreaking. If you want to know a lot more about that Boeing investigation, it's on YouTube. It's called System Failure. For Al Jazeera English, Fault Lines, and The Brief. I'm Josh Rushing.
You see what I mean? Now, this is what I'm talking about. You would have thought that they would have, after he said what he said, they would have went back in there and said, hey, look, listen, we need to check this out. We need to really make sure that these planes can sustain all the pressure, all the winds, whatever it's supposed to take, that it can handle it. You understand? But for some weird reason, they said, hey, listen, man, just keep collecting that check. Whatever happens, we'll deal with it. We'll make more money, bring it in. And if we got to pay out any lawsuits, that's just light change. It's just, it costs to be the boss. I guess that's their mindset. And that is really ridiculous right there, because you're playing with individual people's lives. Look how everyone on that plane was unalived. I mean, let's be serious. They landed without landing gear. They really need to make something else just in case something like this happens. They don't want to spend that kind of money on that until it's too late. I don't like that.
A new Boeing whistleblower is now saying that employees installed defective parts on planes in order to keep the production line moving. So let's talk about it, right? So the whistleblower in question is a man by the name of Sam Mohawk, who's worked in quality assurance at Boeing for 13 years, with him specifically working at a factory in Renton, Washington, where around 30% of all commercial airliners are made worldwide. And yes, that also means where the infamous Alaska airline jet that lost its door plug after takeoff was assembled. But with the news today, Mohawk just spoke out for the first time in an interview with 60 Minutes, where he said that he started noticing problems during the pandemic, or when Boeing was increasing production and coping with supply chain issues. And as a quality inspector, part of his job is to keep track of the defective airline parts that are separated out and then put into what's known as parts jail, where they're supposed to be under lock and key with a whole chain of evidence to make sure that they're not put back into any planes. But Mohawk, he says that because of the pressure to keep production moving, some factory workers went against protocol and just took parts out of parts jail when his team wasn't looking. And when asked whether this was a continuous problem or a couple of bad parts being put on a jet, Mohawk responded, I think it's happening repeatedly. We have thousands of missing parts. Also beyond that, he said it's not just the small parts that go missing, but rather major ones like rudders. I mean, we're talking about one of the key tools for literally steering a plane, but follow to stay in the loop.
He is alleging that Boeing knowingly took a series of manufacturing shortcuts in the construction of the 787.
The whistleblower is a Boeing engineer who says the Boeing Dreamliner has sections of the fuselage that are put together improperly, and it could potentially break apart mid-air after thousands of flights. Boeing strongly disputed the claims and says the plane has undergone intense stress testing and is very safe. The FAA told NBC News they're looking into the claims, and Congress is planning a hearing next week where they invited the whistleblower.
So in 24 hours, I don't know if you guys know, we've had 3 plane crashes on this here planet. It looks like one in South Korea, one in Amsterdam, and one in Canada. All 3 had something to do with the landing gear or something like that. We seen the one yesterday in South Korea where the landing gear wasn't down, it slid into the wall. No idea why that wall was there. If that wall wasn't there, those people would have survived. Just like these other 2 flights, planes are made to slide on their bellies. All right? So if that wall wasn't there, those people would have survived in South Korea. All right? I don't know what's going on with these planes out here right now, but something's real fucking fishy. We don't have this many plane crashes in a month on this earth versus in the past 24 hours. And it hasn't even been 24 hours. It's really been like 20. Man, y'all better send some prayers up. Don't know what's going up.
3 plane crashes on December 29th. 3 in one day. And let's not forget that there was one on Christmas Day, which people believe was taken down intentionally by Russia. And there was one on the 18th and the 22nd of December. But on December 29th, 3 planes went down. In South Korea, Jeju Air Flight 2216, a Boeing, crashed in the Muan International Airport and burst into flames. 179 people out of 181 on board. And then there was Air Canada Express Flight 2259. It made a crash landing in Halifax Stanfield International Airport, and it skidded along the runway, and part of the plane caught fire, just like in the other one, skidded on the runway and caught fire. 73 passengers and crew on board, they all survived with minor injuries. And KLM Flight 1204, a Boeing, the same exact model as the one in South Korea, made an emergency landing in Oslo after experiencing a hydraulic failure. The plane skidded on the runway. All 182 occupants were evacuated safely. I just want to know, what in the Twilight Zone lost bullshit fuckery is that?
We are waking up today with yet again another plane crash. This time, this is inside of Canada. As a plane tried to land, there was something once again wrong with the landing gear. Yes, another time with another landing gear, different kind of plane in a different country. This was an Air Canada's aircraft, and as it was coming down into Newfoundland, the left landing gear just did not extend all the way, so as the plane came down, it, of course, folded in, it started sparking, and then luckily it landed with no one getting injured. A passenger on the flight says the plane started to sit about a 20-degree angle to the left, and then we heard what sounded like a crash sound as the wing of the plane began skidding along the pavement. Like I said before, everyone was fine in this instant, but the other flight, especially in South Korea, wasn't okay. At this very moment, that airline lost 179 people. Now, we're told that the pilot did make a mayday call just minutes before they were about to land, and now we're starting to hear different stories about what happened. While everyone is still believing that, yes, it definitely was a landing gear issue, we're starting to get information that birds may have contributed to this in somehow. Supposedly, the airliner was attempting to land on a different runway when the control tower warned them about birds in the area, and that a strike could be possible. And then it was just a minute later when the pilot then made a mayday call to the tower. We're still waiting on the black box information in order to really determine what happened here, but officials are still believing that, yes, it was probably a landing gear issue. And then the last crash we found out came from KLM in Norway after a Boeing skid off the runway when what happened? The landing gear had an issue. Soon after takeoff, we're finding out that they had a loss of hydraulics, which then caused them to have emergency landing. And while landing, the aircraft then left the runway and entered the grass because now it had one landing gear down and it kind of like spun off. Luckily, no one was injured. But yeah, it was a bad day for aviation. Keep in mind that also just a few days ago, Russia took down an airliner. So, not a fun week to be flying.
Now, I'm no mathematician, I'm no scientist, but one thing I could tell you, 1 + 1 = 2. But sometimes things just don't add up the way it's supposed to. With that being said, that whistleblower, he was onto something. But they shut him out, and he's no longer here with us to really explain what's supposed to be explained. Remember, they red-rummed him the day that he was supposed to actually either go to a meeting in regards to this, but either way, he's no longer here. He spoke about what's happening today, and look what's going on. This is what they do for the power of the dollar. They can care less about a human life as long as they're bringing in that income. That is ridiculous. With that being said, make sure you go in the comments, run it up, flood it up. Let me know your thoughts on all this ordeal right here. I think this is foul. I'll see you guys on the next one. Don't forget, hit that like, comment, share, subscribe button. Let's help this channel grow. See you in the next one. Don't be scared to drop a comment neither.